I've been in a lot of abusive relationships because that's kind of what I learned. I remember the very first time a man ever laid hands on me, and it was just a push to the chest to knock me down onto my butt. And I said, "You're done. That is it." And I thought I would be that strong throughout the rest of my life, that I would never put up with something like that. It isn't for me so much the physical abuse. I would rather be punched straight in my face than deal with the mental abuse. The mental abuse is so long lasting, it cuts so deep, it changes you as a person. And that's mostly what I've been subjected to, because if somebody lays hands on me, they're pretty much done right away. But the mental abuse, you don't realize it's happening until it's already happened. Where I was like, this person's life is in my hands. Like, and if I don't do what he says, he doesn't have a life anymore. He'll die. And it was just like, it was a power move. And his mom actually used to even call me in the middle of the night and say, he's in the bathroom with a bottle of Jack Daniels and a shotgun. You need to get here. And I'm like, I'm 15, 16 years old. I don't have a car. And I'd start walking.
Because stop. I'm hung up right now on his mom because she knows.
He lied to her about my age. Actually, it was when I was throwing my sweet 16 birthday party that she goes, "What? You told me she was 19." And it was like, what? I'm about to turn 16.
She has the audacity to call you when he's having his own crisis and put the weight on you as his.
Yeah. So that was my introduction pretty much to my love life.
It is bothering me on so many levels, because the people who are supposed to protect you are handing you over to wolves that are their children.
I tried to leave him so many times, but he always threatened his own life on me. So I stayed for a long time. And finally, when I ended the relationship, I was out of it for about a year. And when I started dating somebody else, he's seen us at the gas station, and he showed up at my house with a Tech 9, and he called me and said, "You need to come outside right now." And when I opened up the door, he put the gun right to my mouth. And at that point, I was 18 years old.
So he's 26 now.
26, 27-ish, somewhere in there. But yeah, so he had showed up at my house, and he said, "I have an uncle who's law enforcement, and I'll get away with this." And he put the gun right up to my mouth. And my mom was walking through the kitchen, and she seen what was happening. And I said, "Mom, just get back in the kitchen." And my mom was like, "Absolutely not."
What's up, my people? It's your favorite light, M Boogie in this thing. Welcome to another episode of the Can't Be Broken podcast, where we are shining light on the darkness that is domestic violence and abuse. If you've never been here before, welcome to the show. We got 3 simple goals: educate, empower, and encourage. We are here to educate anyone who has never been in an abusive relationship. We're here to empower all of our survivors to stand up and share your story without shame, fear, guilt, or judgment, because you are strong, you are powerful, and your voice deserves to be heard. And to anyone who is currently suffering in silence right now, listen, you are not alone. You are not crazy. Abuse is not normal. Your feelings are valid. And despite how it may look and feel in this very moment, there is always a way out. And we just encourage you to seek support. Now, y'all know what it is. We got to hop up on in this thing, because we about to rise above these insecurities, release the burdens of shame and guilt, and revive our God-given power, purpose, and passion the Conf1dence Way. So we about to light it up. Welcome to another amazing episode of the Can't Be Broken podcast. And of course, we have another amazing, phenomenal, beautiful, magical, magnificent guest, Miss DeAnna, in the building. Pew, 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 pew. Come ready. DeAnna!
I'm so honored to be here with you today.
It is our privilege. You hear me? It is our privilege to be in this space with you, to share this conversation with you, and to be on your healing journey, a part of your healing journey, and just to be able to tap into who you are as a person, and how what you've gone through has encouraged and inspired you to be stronger and to help other people. So welcome to the show. Thank you for taking the time out to have this conversation.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored and I'm so blessed. And honestly, this journey has been such an incredible one. Lots of lessons, lots of learning and healing and growing. Not every day is the best day, but it can always be worse, but it doesn't have to be.
But it doesn't have to be, girl. And you said something really, really powerful there, because nothing is a loss unless you don't get the lesson from it.
Yeah,
And to
absolutely.
be able to learn the lessons through our experiences in life, whether they be what we're talking about on this podcast or whether they be something different, is really a beautiful part of the journey, because we forget that we've only been here one time. We've only been this age one time. We've only been in this body at this time one time. And so to have enough grace with ourselves and other people to understand that we're all growing and we're all learning along the way is what it's all about.
Absolutely. I believe that every single lesson has a blessing. Um, Truly. I mean, I cannot even begin to tell you how about a month or two ago, I was absolutely at my lowest point in my entire life. And that's saying something because I've had it a bit rough. Um, but along with it, my angels just came into my life and they absolutely just every person I met or every person that I ran into again after a very long time, they just so happened to flow into my life at just the perfect time, just when I needed it. Um, yes, so and there's been so much learning, there's been so much growing, there's been so much healing. I no longer feel that pit in my stomach, I no longer feel that tight in my chest. I honestly, truly, I feel free from my situation, and I just want anybody who's listening to this to know that that is 100% possible, no matter what your situation.
Absolutely. It's like the freedom that you feel is really truly like smelling and breathing in fresh air for the first time again.
Yeah,
It's so peaceful knowing that the challenges that you're going to face in this phase of life aren't because of someone else's foolishness. It's just life stuff. And so that I want to piggyback off what you just said to anyone who is listening. It is, I promise you, you feel like in the moment you can't do it on the other side, but you can, and it's so much better. The water is bluer and clearer. The grass is greener. The air is fresher. The birds are louder, and you deserve it. So, DeAnna, let's go ahead. We about to start digging today.
yes.
My first question for you is, growing up, had you ever witnessed or experienced any type of physical, verbal abuse in your household or maybe around the neighborhood, or anything that you can remember?
Well, I absolutely, one of the very first experiences that I ever had. Now, my parents, they weren't perfect by any means, but one of the very first memories that I have as a child is my asking my mom why she looks different, why her body looks different from other people. And she used to just tell me that she had an accident, and that was how she explained it to me as a child. What I did not realize at the time was she later told me in my adulthood that as a teenager, she was poor. She came from a poor family, and she needed a winter jacket. And there was I wouldn't call him a gentleman, but there was a guy who offered to buy her a jacket, and in exchange for him to have sex with her. And she said, no, I'm okay. I don't need the jacket. And he went to her mother, my grandmother, and said, hey, she doesn't want me to buy her this jacket. Can I please buy her a jacket? And her mother said, absolutely. Like, I can't afford it. So she had to fulfill her side of things, or she felt like she had to fulfill her side of things, and became pregnant at 15 with my sister. And then in turn, she had to marry that guy, which, by 18, she had two children. She was married. She was, living her life, unfortunately. And he was very abusive. And his mother, who lived with them, was very also physically and mentally abusive. And years down the line, once the kids were probably in their, I don't know, like a little more formative years, not quite toddlers, the abuse became so much that she had set herself on fire as a suicide attempt. So that's how she wound up with all the burns, and all her skin looked different than everybody else's. And so I just kind of grew up thinking that she just looked different. But I realized later on in life that she was put in a position as such a young, kind of helpless person that she felt like she had no other choice but to go forward with this. And it wound up with her in the hospital, and skin grafts and years of therapy and things like that. I didn't realize that that was ingrained in me. The generational kind of like, you have to go through with this, and you have to get married if you're pregnant, and you have to, just be nice to the guy and just deal with whatever he has to throw at you, was kind of the mentality that she was put into. My dad wasn't that terrible of a person or anything, but there was obviously some issues growing up. There was some turmoil because he kind of rescued her out of that situation. And so growing up, like, she was always, her main phrases in life were go with the flow, or just to each his own, and to kind of just like smile and deal with it. And so, as much as I did not see very much abuse in my childhood years between my parents, I realized that my mom was a very damaged person, and that my dad wasn't quite, he was not quite, what can I say? He wasn't quite healed himself. He had some stuff in his childhood, whatever. So that's where it all started for me, was like before I was ever even born. So I grew up with this whole, you just smile, you get through the day, you deal with what you got to deal with, you be strong. And what I didn't realize at the time was being strong was just putting up with things and dealing with things and obeying and being put like on a lower level as a woman. You just had to smile and nod and wave and say yes, dear, and be done with it. So that's kind of something that transcended into my relationships as an adult. I thought the best way to deal with things was to just be obedient, and to be, yes, no problem, and then you just suffer in silence. But that never felt right to me. So as a teenager, I got into some relationships, as teenagers do. And whenever something troublesome would come up, I would feel like, oh no, I have to make a stand. But at the same time, like, I was that yes girl. I was just like, nope, I'm not going to disagree. I'm not going to make waves. I'm going to go with the flow. I'm going to do whatever it takes to just make this okay. And that's kind of just the way I was raised. I mean, I didn't know how to stand up for myself. I truly did not understand that I could stand up for myself. Um, that's something that I learned way later on in the journey. But it kind of set the tone. It kind of set the tone. Like, I was damaged as a child. I was sexually abused, and then later in my teenage years, I was sexually assaulted. Um, and I figured I was damaged goods. So anybody who was willing to deal with that damage was, in my eyes, such an honorable person for putting up with me. And I didn't see my worth. I didn't see my worth at all. I truly just figured that was what I was going to be dealt. That was what I was going to be handed. That's what I had to put up with as a woman. I had to be strong. Um, and when I say I had to be strong, there's a difference between being strong, as in taking all the hits. And now that I know that you can be strong by not taking those hits, not letting them hits land, you know, I don't know. Sorry if I'm getting a little way off the side here,
No,
but
no, You're fine. So let's slow down. Let's slow down for a second because I do want to go back to your mom for a minute. So, do you know if there was anything from your grandmother that was abuse? Like, do you know if there was any abuse in your grandmother's history prior to what you found out about your mom?
Well, I don't know too much about my original grandfather, like my biological grandfather. I grew up with their stepdad being my grandfather. But I do know that he was not great, and he did walk out on my grandmother. They had four daughters, all girls, and I think the estrogen was just too much for him. um, so he did leave, and he was no longer a part of the situation. I don't know how abusive he was, but I know that they were very active in like the bar community, and they pretty much raised their daughters in the bars where they were, being kind of subject to things that kids shouldn't be subject to. So I know that there was probably some damage. We never got into their history too much with the grandparents, but I do know that they did not have a safe or stable place to grow up, my mom and her sisters. So,
Oh my goodness. So then your
yeah,
mom at 15, how old was the guy? Do you,
he was only a couple of years older than her. I mean, it was just not enough to make it illegal, but old enough for her to feel like he had power over her because he was older and wiser. And I say that in
right,
air quotes.
right.
Um, but yeah, so like she just kind of followed, I guess, my grandmother's lead with the man is always right, and you listen to him and you take care of him, and that's just what you do. You put up with whatever you got to put up with to make sure that you have a roof over your head and your children have somebody in their life. So again, I'm not very clear on my grandmother's history, but I do know that that's kind of the way all four of them girls kind of went. Either they wound up with mental health issues or addictions, or some sort of something out of being raised in that kind of environment. Um, as much as my mom tried, and I love her so much for so many reasons. She really didn't have a great platform to go off of to raise her own children. I mean, she was a teenager when she became a mother. And I came way later. Like my brother and sister were born about 15 to 10 years before me. And she had remarried with my dad. So um, yeah, so she was kind of like just getting to the point where they were grown enough to take care of themselves. And when I was a baby, I kind of fell to them being my parents, my brother and my sister being my parents, especially my sister. And she became a teenage mother as well. At 16, she had her first baby. At 18, pretty much followed in my mom's footsteps. Um, that was something that I decided very hard against. I decided that I never wanted children because if that was motherhood, I did not want that.
Mm.
Stuck being a teenage mom, being, at the mercy of whoever could help you. Like I made that decision at 22 years old. I decided I was going to get my tubes blocked because I did not want to ever accidentally do something like that and accidentally become a mother and
Yeah.
have to live my life on those basis. So yeah, I think I was like 4 years old when I decided I was never having kids.
And that
Um,
speaks volumes because at that age, most little girls are like, baby doll, mommy, mommy, like, pretending to be that person. And for you to have experienced and witnessed the aftermath of what your mom had been through before you even born, because you said that your mom's husband and his mother were both abusing her.
yes,
I can't imagine how trapped she felt, like how trapped and hopeless she felt to literally set herself on fire. I mean, when someone wants to end their life, by fire, I wouldn't imagine would be the first choice because of the torture and the suffering. But for you to have gone through so much that that's your go to.
exactly. And I asked her in our adulthood, we got to know each other as grown-ups. Like that was one of the most amazing things is my mom is such an incredible person. She survived all that. She went through all that and she has been a source of strength for me in so many ways. Um, but for her to tell me that literally she wanted to feel a different kind of pain than what she was going through, like, and she did not mean to set herself completely on fire. She just wanted to feel something. Um that I was like, oh my gosh, like it puts this huge pit in my heart that I'm like, I can't imagine a life so painful that you would think that that would feel better. I mean, gosh, seriously, I mean, I've been through my own things, but like I reflect on what she went through, and I just don't, I can't imagine it. I can't fathom a pain so great. I remember her saying that, when she first got married and she was pregnant with my brother, she was 18 years old, and he had kicked her to the ground, and the mom grabbed her by her hair and drug her across the room. Like, that was kind of like one of those things. Like, I've been in a lot of abusive relationships because that's kind of what I learned. But I seriously, I remember the very first time a man ever laid hands on me, and it was just a push to the chest to knock me down onto my butt. And I like got up off of my butt and I said, "You're done. That is it." And I thought I would be that strong throughout the rest of my life, that I would never put up with something like that. Um, it isn't for me so much the physical abuse. I would rather be punched straight in my face than deal with the mental abuse. The mental abuse is so long lasting, it cuts so deep, it changes you as a person, for sure. Um, and that's mostly what I've been subjected to, because if somebody lays hands on me, they're pretty much done right away. But the mental abuse, you don't realize it's happening until it's already happened, until you're like sitting there questioning everything about yourself and everything you thought you knew. Like that's truly the torture, is up in here. A bruise will heal, but those mental scars, they cut so deep and they stay for so long. And that's one of those things. I didn't think I was going to ever be in an abusive situation until I found myself in an abusive situation. And it starts with the mind. It really starts with the mind.
And it's small nuggets. It's like Hansel and Gretel. It's really small nuggets. And I'm glad that you said this because my experience was both physical and mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, all of it. And so what you're saying about it's a almost like a game to them, just to
Yeah.
see what's going to happen. Because I'm like you, I never ever thought I would be that person that was subjected and then continued to be subjected or allow myself to be abused to a certain extent by anyone. And so, especially not someone who says they love you, but
That's the worst part.
it's it's real torture
It really
for
is.
them to do that and to they're stripping you. This is how I creatively paint the image for myself when I'm seeing me on this side of what I've been through. It was like the movie Trolls,
Yeah.
where I'm this happy, beautiful, bubbly person before we meet. You are attracted to me because I'm this happy, beautiful, bubbly person and I'm outgoing and I have friends and all of these other things. But slowly and surely, you're like stripping away my color and fading me down to gray.
Hmm.
And you don't realize it's happening, at least in my case, because it happens like nugget by nugget by nugget by nugget. And then you get in there and you're like, what's really going on? And then, like you said, you're questioning yourself, you're questioning your sanity. It's like, how did I get here? Why am I allowing this to happen? What do I like? It's just so crazy. And so for me, that's what it was like. It was like I was losing who I was, trying to, like you and your mom and your grandma, go along to get along, But that's not,
Yeah.
life's not about that. Life isn't about you going along to getting along. Life is about you living and thriving in everything that makes you beautiful and unique. And when you end up in an abusive relationship, physical, especially emotional, I don't know that there is a physical abusive relationship without the mental abuse to go along with it. You know, it's all
Absolutely.
dang.
In my last situation, there's a long history between me and that person. I refer to him as the clown. Um, there was a long history, and it all started off mentally. So I swear the darkness is drawn to the light. Just like a moth to a flame, the darkness is drawn to the light. They see your light. They're like, oh my gosh, look how beautiful that light is. And they just grab it and they snuff it out. They just snuff it out. Yes. So that's one thing that, like, it always seems to happen because trust me, I have known so many people who've gone through this, women and men. And when you have that light that just glows outside of you, like the moths come in and they just like, oh, I want that, I want that, I want that. They're like, but I don't want it to be so bright. I don't want it to flicker and like, okay, so I don't know if you noticed, but I am here by candlelight because this is my light. This right here is my light. So they're drawn to that light. They're drawn to your kind heart. They see that goodness in you. And when you're dealing with somebody who's ultimately going to abuse you, they want it so bad. They are so attracted to that light because they want it. They want it for themselves, but they slowly just suffocate it. They just slowly put it out because they're like, no, I want the light to be there, but I want it to be going this way or just a little dimmer, or just, wait, hold on, let me take some of that light. Let me take it, let me take it, let me take it. And they just take because they know 100% that you are willing to give it. They see the goodness in you. They see that you are willing to give it. um you're willing to give it up at any cost, and they want it. They just take, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like it's a never ending vacuum. It's just you pour yourself, and you pour yourself into somebody, and you pour yourself into trying your best to do your best to be the best you, and it goes nowhere. It's an endless vacuum of just sucking that light right out of your soul. um, luckily, luckily, my little flame never went out. It may have gotten smothered a couple times. It may have rocked around a little bit. It may have like reignited a couple times, but it has never gone out. And it's something I refuse to let go out. I will guard every little bit of light that I have in myself, no matter how dim. I'm gonna guard it. Um, no matter how hard they try to blow it out, I'm going to guard that light. I'm going to guard that flame. Um, oh gosh, it's so incredible to talk to you today about this because it's something I'm very passionate about. It's something that I've literally watched so many women and men. I mean, it's not a gender thing. It's anybody who has that brightness in them will attract something that is ready to extinguish it. you know
It's wild. And I love that you put it that way too, because that's exactly that, you painted that beautifully. That's exactly what it is. They want it to control and they want it for themselves, but because they're damaged with their own trauma that they haven't healed from, they can't, they don't handle it with the proper care. And
no.
so there's a sense of jealousy that comes up out of them. There's a sense of pride, ego, all of the things. Because it's like, I love that you're so amazing and beautiful. But like you said, I want you to be amazing and beautiful this way, my way,
Yeah.
or not so much because you're attracting things that I can't control. And that's a threat to me. And
Yeah.
so you said that so beautifully. That's exactly what, like, the darkness comes in and it wants the all I'm thinking about right now is Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Rings, Gollum and Schmeagol and my precious and all of that. But it wants it, but it doesn't know how to manage it, and it doesn't know how to tap into its own light and grow its own light and cultivate that own rich beauty that it sees in others. So before we get to the clown homeboy, where were you after you had that conversation with your mom and she explained to you, hey, this is, I'm different. Gosh, my heart breaks for your mother. Oh my gosh. Like you said, I can't even imagine.
I asked her why her arms looked like that. Like, I didn't know. I
Of
didn't know.
course.
I was just like, why do your arms look like that? And she just always kind of put it as an accident. But it wasn't until I think I was like around a teenager when she described what had actually happened. And we won't go into all them details because they're very personal. But it wasn't until I was in my very first abusive relationship when I was 15 years old, I met a guy, and he was 24, but he told me he was 21. And so my mom goes, "Oh, he's 21. He's a little bit old for you. You should probably not date him." And I was just like, "Oh, well, I like him so much, blah, 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 blah." And it was the first time that I ever actually had gotten into like a 3-year long, really mentally kind of abusive situation where he painted it as the best thing ever. He gave me the most amazing gifts. He talked about me in such a great way. He would just spoil the heck out of me. But at the same time, when I seen his mental health issues coming up and I wanted to leave and I wanted to get out of that situation, he'd be like, "Well, if you leave me, I'm going to kill myself," you know?
Mm,
And
mm.
so it turned into like a guilt trip thing where I was like, this person's life is in my hands. Like, and if I don't do what he says, he doesn't have a life anymore. He'll die. And it was just like, it was a power move. And his mom actually used to even call me in the middle of the night and say, "He's in the bathroom with a bottle of Jack Daniels and a shotgun. You need to get here." And I'm like, "I'm 15, 16 years old. I don't have a car." And I'd start walking because
Oh,
I
stop,
don't,
stop, 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 stop. Stop.
I'm telling you, if we don't have all day, but
What? Okay. First of all, how did y'all meet?
at a bar, at a bar,
How did you get to a bar at 15?
well, because again, my mom was raised in bars, so every Friday we would go to this one social club that you had to be a member to get into, and they'd have a prime rib night, and I love prime ribs, so we would go there, and after we had dinner, she would go to the bar and have some drinks, and I would go play on the little computer that you could like find the difference between the pictures. So I was always just sitting there, and eventually this guy came up to me and we started talking, and we liked the same movie, and the end was like that was the beginning of the end.
So he knew you
So
were 15.
he did. I did tell him that. That's why he lied about his age at first. We went through the first 2 years of me not knowing how old he actually was until his mom blew his cover by accident. um yeah, so the deception runs deep. um The deception runs deep for sure. Um, yeah. So I don't know. It just became one of these things where I fell in love as a 15-year-old and not knowing really what I was getting into. I didn't know that he had mental health issues. I didn't know that he had substance abuse issues. I didn't know any of these things. I'd never even heard of substance abuse issues or addiction or any of those things. Um, I just thought he really liked me, innocently enough at that age. I just thought he liked me. So,
But
um,
now, hold up, because I totally get all that. That age is so innocent and sweet and pure. And when it's allowed to grow up, it's beautiful. But I'm hung up right now on his mom because she knows her son
he lied to her about my
before.
age. He lied to her about my age. Um, Actually, it was when I was throwing my sweet 16 birthday party that she goes, "What? You told me she was 19." And it was like, "What? I'm about to turn 16." Like,
Oh my.
so,
But then
yeah,
she finds out, she lets this, I mean, because you can't control what's going to happen really, in all honesty, but she has the audacity to call you when he's having his own crisis and put the weight on you as his,
yeah. So that was my introduction pretty much to my love life.
it is
Thinking
bothering
that
me on so many levels, because the people who are supposed to protect you are handing you over to wolves that are their children. Like, you
yeah,
birthed this person, you know who this person is, and you're calling this sweet child, like, you're abusing her too. You're saying this is, if you don't come help me.
there is a big thing in my life where I try to recognize patterns. Now, you can't recognize a pattern until you've seen it in hindsight. Um, so for me, again, I've gone through like EMDR therapy through my traumas, um, where I'm like, holy crap, my mom went through that too, you know? Um, ding, 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 the light bulb's going off. um, but literally, I tried to leave him so many times, but he always threatened his own life on me. So I stayed for a long time. And finally, when I ended the relationship, I was out of it for about a year. And when I started dating somebody else, um, he seen us at the gas station and he showed up at my house with a Tech 9 and he called me and said, "You need to come outside right now." And when I opened up the door, he put the gun right to my mouth. And at that point, I was 18 years old. Um,
So he's
he,
26 now.
yes, 26, 27 ish, somewhere in there. But yeah, so he had showed up at my house and he said, "I have an uncle who's law enforcement and I'll get away with this." And he put the gun right up to my mouth. And my mom was walking through the kitchen and she seen what was happening. And I said, "Mom, just get back in the kitchen." And my mom's like, "Absolutely not. Um, this is not okay." Um, Pretty much, I kind of talked him down from that. I talked him down from it. I don't even remember what I said, but I was like, "Look, your uncle is not going to protect you. You're not going to get away with this." And he retreated. And then I went with a protection from abuse order. I went to court. I took him to court over that. Um, at 18 years old and not knowing what the heck to do, just knowing the fact that like there was there was no way he was going to get away with that. So I did go through with that. Went on to, get married and have just, a drunk husband that I got rid of after about a couple of years. He wasn't terribly abusive or anything. He was just drunk. Um, but I noticed once I got out of that and I moved down here to Florida, um, I don't know, I guess my light reignited because when I was nice and dull and when I was not happy with my life, I seemed to attract people who were willing to just be calm and cool and settled and have a normal life, which I was never satisfied with because of me. And I'm like, not cool with normal. Um, so once I got down here, like I noticed that I started becoming more adventurous and I started facing my fears and I started um really truly growing into a person that had that light again. And that's when I started finding the people again that it's so weird because it's like it's one of those you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If you're nice and just mellow and nothing is good going on in your life, like you attract the people who will provide stability. And but when with me, I'm a free spirit. Like every time that light starts to shine in me is when the crazies come out of the woodwork. And I don't say that like I'm not putting anybody down, not calling anybody crazy, um but I do notice when my light shines the brightest is when the more detrimental people tend to show up. um, so yeah, I don't know, I've had some pretty crazy instances with some people that I just, I meet them, I immediately love them, I'm attracted to their whatever, and they're attracted to my whatever. And it turns into like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I look around and I'm like, I'm in a situation I shouldn't be in. And, um, that's just kind of been like I said, the pattern, like that I've been trying to break. I've been really trying to break that pattern because I I don't know, I just can't let my heart I can't let my heart take the steering wheel. I just really can't. My heart is just, I don't know, special, I guess.
Yeah. It throws you off, like when you're so sweet, and you love and all of the things, you tend to ignore or excuse the red flags. So
Yeah.
like in your relationships and the relationships that you got into, and then you find out once you're in there, you're like, wait a minute, this is familiar and wrong. Can you recall like any red flags prior to getting so deeply involved with someone that you either see now as a red flag or saw then as maybe like a pink flag, but you're like, nah, I think it's okay. Like, did you see any flags?
So one thing that I did tend to notice is whenever I got myself into an abusive relationship, it was always a rush. There was always some sort of rush. Like they want you to get really committed right away. Um, so we'll reference my last experience, the one with the clown. Um, so right away when I first met him, he was immediately just like, again, moth to a flame, like immediately attached himself to me. And at the time I was not looking for any kind of relationship or anything. And we were hanging out and talking and everything. And all of a sudden he comes up and says to somebody, "Oh, this is my girlfriend and it's our 1 month anniversary." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, what do you mean it's our 1 month? Oh yeah, no, a month ago today was the first time that we hung out. And I'm like, that doesn't make it an anniversary. And what do you mean I'm your girlfriend? I said, you never asked. So you need to ask permission before you can claim that. And I thought I was being strong in that instance with saying that, like, and immediately he got like almost like a proposal. He got down on one knee and said, "Will you be my girlfriend?" And I was like, "Well, now that I'm on the spot, yeah, okay, sure, I will. Yeah, I'll be your girlfriend." And and immediately as soon as I said that, it was like stepping on a bear trap where it just closed in on me and I was stuck in it. Like I made that declaration of commitment and I could not go back on it because he would not allow me to go back on it. Like, you said you're my girlfriend, now you're my girlfriend. And that's when the abuse really started. Um, that was when, like I said, my foot was pretty much stuck in a bear trap. I was stuck in it, and he was just like, "Yep, this is the way it's going to be from now on," like right off the bat. And yeah, it turned into it was right before COVID, and gosh, I'm trying to think, because it was so long ago. Like that was round one. There was a round two because toxic love is intoxicating. Um, so immediately after that, he automatically, and at that point, I had I had my own house, I had my own pets, I worked, I was very independent, I was very outgoing, I had a big social life, and immediately it was like, okay, let's start picking off her friends. You can't be friends with this person because of this reason. You can't be friends with this person because of this reason. And I don't want you need to go on your Facebook and you need to delete any guys that you've ever talked to or has ever even thought of you in that way, or you ever thought of them in that way. You need to get rid of all of that. Um, so that was the beginning of like the isolation, like where, okay, we're going to take those people out of your life. Mission accomplished. I'm like, oh my gosh, well, I don't want to make him jealous. I don't want to make him upset. I don't want to step on the bear, or poke the bear or whatever, you know. So I got rid of all that. And then after that, it was like my closest friends, well, they don't think I'm good for you and they need to go. And so automatically I started distancing myself from the people who actually were my support system. Which for, okay, I don't throw this term around lightly by any means. The narcissistic tendencies, it's you need to be isolated. They need to have you alone. They need to get you into a situation where you absolutely have nobody else to turn to but them. So after the close friends came the family. Every time I'd be on the phone with my mom or my sister or my cousins, it was like he was screaming in the background and they didn't want to hear it. Or he didn't want me talking to them. He didn't want me snitching on him for the things that he was saying, the things that he was doing. And so I stopped talking to them about it. And whenever they would ask questions, I'd just be like, oh, I mean, it's a bad day, but I'm fine, and I'd start blowing it off. Like I would start making excuses for him or making excuses for my behavior because my behavior was changing and they noticed. Like they noticed 100%. So it really just became, like I said, an isolation tactic where I didn't have anybody else but him to turn to, and he was my main source. So when you come from being the flame, the bright light that they want to be attracted to, they turn it on you, and they're like, "Now I'm the flame, and you need to come to me." They make it so that way your only option is them, and that was one of those things that I did not notice that was happening until later on when the relationship had ended for a good long time. For about 4 years it ended. And I would go home for a visit and my family would be like, oh my gosh, we can finally talk to you again. And I'm like, what do you mean you can finally talk to me again? Well, the last time I talked to you on the phone, I could hear him screaming in the background, who are you talking to? you know um so it was kind of crazy like that. um but also it got down to different things. Like he would try to control when I ate, he would try to control when I slept, and he would try to keep me as food and sleep deprived as humanly possible, so that way I just did not have it in me, like totally broken down as a human being, that I could not defend myself even if I tried. I couldn't make sense of things because when you don't have food or sleep, your brain starts just breaking down. Your soul starts breaking down. Like that person has ultimate control. It didn't matter whether we were at my house that I paid my bills at and I had everything I needed there. He made it seem like he was all I needed, and I didn't I don't know. I couldn't control when I woke up. If I woke up and tried to get out of bed, he'd be like, no, you need to come back to bed. You need to stay here with me. If I was hungry, he'd be like, oh no, just wait. We'll go get something to eat later. And it's like, but I'm hungry. And it got down to the point where he controlled every single aspect of every single part of my life. Just just to have that power. And when I think about it, like somebody who needs to have that power and that control over somebody else, like it truly comes from a place of they are not okay themselves. They have never been okay. And the only way they feel okay is having complete control.
Girl, now yours is way a little bit further to the extent than mine. But I've said this so many times. It's like it's the same character in a different costume in a different part of the world, because that is part of their tactics, is like sleep deprivation. And when
Yeah.
you're in an abusive relationship, people don't understand, especially the mental, like those kind of tactics. It's not even the physical part that's exhausting. It's the mental part that's physically exhausting. Like,
Yeah.
because
It
there are
takes everything out of it.
so many times it's like you're not going to go to sleep. If we had a disagreement or argument, I learned early on, it's like there's no point of me trying to be strong or prove that I can go toe to toe with you, because you're going to make sure that I know that I can't. So my whole thing would be if I can just get away, because the thing is, right, if you have an altercation or a disagreement, or if their tensions are high, separate yourselves from each other so y'all can cool off. Well, I would try to separate myself and he would follow. If it's at night, which a lot of times it's at night, I'm not going to sleep, and I could fall asleep. Like when I tell you I can fall asleep like this, I can fall asleep like this. And so he had problems going to sleep. He always had problems going to sleep. And I would have to do things to try to help him go to sleep. And so if we were in a situation where he didn't like how things were, or he didn't have the control that he wanted, or whatever he was upset about, he would make sure that he would do things to try to keep me awake.
Exactly.
And that's just, for anyone who's listening, the big thing is the isolation, because they know that they see that you have this community. And in my case, homeboy over here didn't have that community. So they see that you have this community, and because you have this community, they know that they're not fighting your mind. They're fighting your mind and the minds of the collective people who actually do love and care for you, which is why they try to make it seem like they're against our relationship, or however they want to do it. And they isolate in like very tactical ways. The isolation is not always just you can't, but it's like, I remember there was one time I had to go and call like so many people and apologize for saying anything negative about our relationship. And I was on the phone and I had an argument with one of my closest, but like she's like a sister to me, and he made me call her and put it on speakerphone, and he's sitting there in my ear when I'm already like going head to head with her, and it's hurting me because I'm like, I love you and I know she loves me back, but this right here is digging, like, and I can't even imagine how much joy he had inside just to hear this wedge that was separating us. It was
like they got the boot on your foot, or the boot on your face, like they're holding you down, and they're forcing you. Like with my clown, again, I refer to him as clown. He would be like, yeah, we need to take a picture right now and put it on Facebook right now. And I'd be like, okay, take the picture. We take the picture. And I'd be like, go ahead and post it. And he'd be like, no, you need to post it. Like, it needs to come from you. People need to know that this is what you want. And it's like, okay, like, I guess I'm posting a picture on Facebook, and people are like, oh my gosh, you look so happy. Like there's one picture, and I can send it to you, where I'm sitting there and I'm smiling, and his face is right here and his eyes are locked in on me, and he made me post that picture. He made me take that picture. He made me post that picture, and everybody's like, you look so happy, and I'm like, literally, this is his eyes staring at me, forcing me to be smiling, and then forcing me to show the world that I'm okay. Like, because he wants everybody to think that I'm okay and that this is the best thing for me, that I'm so happy to be here, and I'm not. Like, it's that kind of stuff, because not only does it affect you, but everybody around you is just like, oh, okay, there's visual confirmation coming from her that she's okay.
Yep.
And in all reality, I would have never in my own willpower have done that. I would have never taken the picture first off. I would have never posted it. I would have never wrote the sweet words that came with it. But he was like, you need to let them know you're okay.
That's wild.
I know.
They
I
have
know.
so many weapons of war is what it is, and they have so many tactics in their stupid bag of tricks that, like, you it doesn't matter what you do or how good you are, you can never win the war. There will never be a white flag waving and a peace treaty, even when you're trying to make the peace, because that's not who
When
they
you
are.
try to make the pieces, when it gets so much worse. It
Yes.
gets so much worse. The more you try to delicately dance on them eggshells, the worse it gets. It just really gets so much worse. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I kind of want to say to anybody that's out there that is just starting out in a situation where in your gut, like right here, I'm going to say right here in the middle of your gut, as soon as you feel that little ping of this is not right, that's the time to turn around. Because once that little tiny ping in your gut goes off and you let it go, that little ping turns into a full-blown this and this and this and this and this until it consumes your entire being. And that's literally exactly what I went through with that situation, from them little tiny things that make your gut twist. I spent many years, I mean, like, I was with the clown for 2 years, and then I spent 4 years away from him. And after I'd been in a somewhat healthy relationship, but it didn't just didn't work out, and we just agreed to go upon our separate ways. The clown popped back up, and my first instinct was like, this feels good right now. The love bombing, the I'm different, I've changed, it's gonna be totally different. Like, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, oh man, I missed that. I missed that craziness. I missed that feeling. I didn't miss the bad stuff for sure. I didn't miss it, but like I did miss the when the good times are good with somebody who is kind of narcissistic, like they make you feel like you are the world. And I missed feeling that important to somebody. And he played on that. And the minute I walked back into his life, he was like, let's go get married right now. And I was like, not quite yet. Not quite yet, right? I just immediately was like, we'll hold off, we'll hold off on that. Um, and it was constantly a pressure, like you need to put it on Facebook, you need to let everybody know, like, we're gonna get married and we're gonna, move along with things. And once it started getting abusive again, and I had already gone through 4 years of, like I said, EMDR therapy, where I learned to recognize my trauma, and Codependence Anonymous, noticing that, yes, I have an attraction to people who hurt me. Um, and I started learning a lot about myself. Once I got back into that, I was like, wait, hold up. Like, this ain't right. And once he started noticing my resistance, he fought harder and harder, and it got way extreme, way quick. Um, and it was funny because I left him for like a week. I went and lived in my car for like a week. And it's Florida in July, and I live beachside, so you can't even crack a window to sleep. And when I came back to him, unfortunately, I came back to him. He sweet talked his way back, into the situation, and I pretty much just said, yeah, I don't think this is what I want, but I really have nowhere to go right now. Like, I don't have anywhere to go. And
Hold
he
on.
was like,
Wait a second. So y'all date for 2 years. You're off. You got a good clean slate for 4 to really go through the healing and everything. He pops back up after you have a healthy
it was
relationship that just didn't work. He pops back up, love bombs you. Where are you in that state that you feel like, and what's the timeline between him popping back up to us needing to get married to you feeling like you didn't have anywhere else to go?
within 3 weeks.
He comes back and within 3 weeks he's like, we need to get married. You walk away. And then a
No,
week you're in a
honestly, like I was just ending my relationship, the healthier one. I mean, it wasn't completely a whole great situation, but there was no abuse there. There was no manipulation there. It was just literally like we were playing house for 4 years. And after 4 years, his relationship had ended, and the girl that he went to for 4 years was 27 years younger than him. He's a little bit older than me. So he found a young girl who was in her early 20s, like 22. And she never had a father, and her mother, who was her everything, just passed away. So she was in a very vulnerable state. And it's so weird because she looks just like me, just like me. So he had a type, and he held on to her for 4 years. When he had called me, it was only because I had his number blocked for all them years. Um, but I had gone through my phone. It was like a kind of a new revelation in my life that I was like, I'm going to get rid of a lot of things that just don't fit in my life anymore. And so I deleted his number, which accidentally unblocked it because I deleted his number. And I was actually up in Northern California on a month-long trip through the redwoods with my girlfriend, just enjoying our birthdays. And he called me on my birthday or text me, and I didn't know who it was because it was a number that I didn't recognize. So I called to just kind of be like, oh, who's wishing me a happy birthday? Thank you. And it was him, and it took me a minute to recognize his voice. And at first, I was not very happy to hear from him. I was just like, oh, it's you. like, and yeah, I was like, yeah, you. I kind of hate you. Like, I was going through martial arts, picturing your face on that bag every time I punched it. like, um, so I'd already been pretty far along in my healing journey, but it doesn't, just because you go through a healing journey does not mean that you can't slip back into what's comfortable and what's safe, or what you think might be safe, even though it's not safe. Um, and it wasn't but like a few days of us talking again. Like, for some reason, he said something that just unlocked my heart, and I forgot about all the bad stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the reason why I loved him so much. And I fell right back in love. And um, as soon as I got home from my trip, he was like, come to me, come to me. And I was just like, okay, like, I don't really have anywhere else to go. Me and my ex had broken up, and my living situation had fallen through, and I didn't really have much of a place to go. I didn't have many options. Like, it's so expensive to try to be a single person on your own. So when he said, oh yeah, you can just come live here, whether we get back together or not, you can just come stay here. And so he made it feel like a safe place, like, and that was no pressure. But the minute I walked in that house, he's like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. Like, we need to get married right now. And like I said, I just kind of pushed it off. I was like, no, like, let's not do that. Like, let's just see how it goes. And I knew it wasn't going to end well, but I didn't think it was going to end as bad as it did. Um, so immediately, like the first few weeks, and it was just because he just got dumped by that girl that he had manipulated for 4 years. He could not be alone. He could not face being alone. And so he reached out to me. And I fell for it like a fish with a hook in its mouth, like, just, oh yeah, look at that. Looks tasty. Boop. And I was caught. And yep. So yeah, he hook, line, and sinkered me. And then once I was there, it was just like, okay, you're gonna do this every day. And I work a lot, and that's not something that he could condone. He was like, nope, you work too much. You should call off. You should sleep in. You should stay with me. You should be here in my comfortable arms because I love you so much. And it just kind of got to the point where it was like, man, I really miss having somebody love me that much. And that's the first initial feeling was, oh my gosh, this person loves me so much, and they want me to be there. They want my embrace, they want my love. Like, I have so much to offer, and this person is willing to take it. So it really, like, it gave my love a direction to go to. But at the same time, it simultaneously started going with, I want you here and I want you to do this, but you got to do it kind of on my terms. And this is the way life is going to be. Um, So when I did leave him for that week, and I stayed in my car, I started building walls in my car. Like I put a bed down in there, and I like made it kind of almost like a little mini mobile home because I didn't have anywhere to go. And when after a week of that, and I finally got, hooked back in, he didn't understand the fact that I could possibly leave him because he was not nice to me. So he immediately shifted the blame and said, "There's got to be somebody else. There's got to be somebody. You didn't leave me for a week and just go be by yourself. There's got to be somebody else." And there was nobody else. I left him because I needed to leave him. So that jealousy over nothing, like literally, there's nobody he needed to be jealous about. There is nobody that I was leaving him for. I was leaving him because I knew it was the right decision. And I got sucked back in knowing it was the wrong decision. So when that jealousy finally bubbled over for him, that was when he decided, like, I'm gonna take you before anybody else can. Like he held me captive for 12 hours. He went and took me out for a night, and I had like 3 drinks out on that night. And when we started getting in an argument, because he was like, "Well, there's got to be somebody else," and I was like, "There's not. You can check my phone. You can look at everything." Um, and he didn't believe me, and he refused to check, and he started immediately like riling me up and getting me to the point where I was hysterical, and then busting out his phone and going, "I'm recording you. I'm going to show everybody how crazy you are." And I was like, "I'm not crazy. You're literally just pushing me to my point. Like you're pushing me to the breaking point." And so he was like, "Okay, well, you're coming home with me, and that's the end of that." And I was like, "Well, I don't want to be home with you. The only reason I went out with you was because if I'm in public, you can't be mean to me in public because you have a reputation to uphold." He's like somewhat of a local celebrity. Um, so I knew that he could not treat me like that in public for his own reputation. Um, and so when we got to the point where we were in the car and we were heading home, he was like, "Yes, we are for sure going upstairs to my apartment into my room, and that's going to be the end of the night." And I was like, "I don't want that. I want to get in my car and I want to go. Like, I'm leaving you. I'm like, after today, I do not want to be in this anymore." And so he said, "Well, if you try to leave, I will call the cops and I will have you arrested at the end of the parking lot for a DUI because you've had 3 drinks." And I was terrified of that because I don't want to get in trouble. I've never been in trouble in my entire life.
Let's pause for a second because I want us to sit on this speed bump and acknowledge the forethought that they have when it comes to the manipulation and control. I would have never thought of that. And a lot of women and men are never going to think on that level, but they're constantly playing these, like using these tactics, and they're always 3-4 steps ahead of you. And it's just like, how is your brain even thinking on that wavelength? I would have never thought of that. But I want to stay here. I wanted to stay here for a minute because there's somebody who's going through some things, and you just, because you don't think that way, you don't see what's possibly about to come up next. But they're constantly on, like, studying the handbook or studying the playbook or constantly thinking of different ways to win this game. And
Yeah.
for him to take you out, y'all have a good time. He sees
We
you.
didn't have a good time. We fought
Didn't
the
even
whole
have
way
a good
there.
time.
We didn't have a good time. We fought the whole way there. And then he was like, "Well, hey, let's order a bucket of beer. I'll get 2 of what I like and 3 of what you like, so that way you can have one more because I'm driving." And I thought that was reasonable. In any situation, you would think that would be reasonable, right?
It was
But for
all
him, Like I didn't even finish the second one. And the third one was like it started raining while we were there. So we went back to the car and it was like, okay, let's sit in the car. And I was like, I don't want to go to the car. I'd rather sit here in the rain. Because I know once we get in the car, a conversation is gonna happen that I don't want to happen. But either way, we wound up in the car. And once we wound up in the car, he was like, okay, well, we're leaving. We're driving an hour back home. And he's like, no, go ahead and have that third one before we go. So that way we don't have an open container in the car. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So I have that one and then the fights start. And it wasn't like me being like, oh, I had 3 drinks and now the fights start. Like the fight was happening the whole time. We just put it on pause because we were in public and he cannot be embarrassed in public. And so on the way home, I'm like, I need to get out of this situation. Like, as soon as we get back to the house, I am getting in my car and I'm leaving you. And I told him I was leaving him. And that's when he started with the I'm recording you and all this stuff. And I was just like, oh, girl, I don't know, honey, you might want to strap in for the rest of this story because it gets pretty wild from here. Um, so we go back and we're fighting the whole way and he keeps saying that you're not leaving, you're going to come upstairs. And I'm like, I don't want to go upstairs, I don't feel safe. And at a certain point we get back and I go to get in my car and he stops me, he physically stops me from getting in my car. And I was just like, I'm getting in my car and I'm leaving. And he's like, well, I will call the cops on you and you'll get arrested. You'll get arrested for a DUI because you legally are now over the limit because you had that third drink. And I'm like, well, it was an hour-long drive and I don't think I'm going to be over the limit, but I don't want to risk it. I don't want to get myself in trouble, you know? So at one point he's doing the manipulation thing and I put my phone on record and I was wearing overalls and I had a pocket in the front and I put my phone in the pocket. And just for anybody out there listening, who might have some sort of benefit from this conversation, is if you have audio without video, legally, it will not stand up without their consent. Just so you know.
Are you serious?
So I have my phone in my pocket. It's nothing but a black screen, but for 5 minutes, this video is going where I'm like, he's like, please, honey, just come upstairs. Just come upstairs. I love you so much. I'm just looking out for you. I want you to be safe. And if you don't go, you're going to get in trouble. Like, and I'm like, I don't feel safe. I do not want to go upstairs. I want to leave. And he's like, well, you're not leaving. You're absolutely not leaving. It's not safe for you to leave. And I was like, okay, well, then I will sleep in my car here in the parking lot. And he's like, you're not sleeping in your car. You need to come upstairs. And I said, I don't want to go up there. And in the video, he says, you're safe. I will stay in the living room and you can go up to the room and you can leave in the morning if you want to. And I will leave you alone. In the video, he says, I will leave you alone. Well, he did not. After about an hour, even at one point, like at the end of the video, you can hear me getting into my car and shutting the door and locking it because he was not letting me go. And then he got into his car and was like, I will follow you wherever you go. And I was like, okay, well, if I try to leave, he's going to call the cops. He kept putting the phone up to his ear like he was going to call the cops on me. So I was like, well, I don't want to drive out of here. I don't want to get in trouble. So after about an hour of this, I finally went upstairs and he um he said, you go ahead and go upstairs. I'll leave you alone. You can leave in the morning. And I figured since he sleeps in late, like I would just leave super early in the morning, kind of like the middle of the night kind of morning. And I figured that would be the end of it. Well, I had again, buckle up, Buttercup, because it's about to get wild. I went upstairs and he came upstairs and he said, hey, do you want to do magic mushrooms with me? And I was like, no, like we've never done anything like that before together. I don't know why you'd offer that. And he's like, well, if it's going to be our last night together, we might as well have a good time. And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. So he leaves and then about half hour later, he comes back up, and at this point, I'm packing up all my stuff. I'm getting everything in my laundry baskets. I'm getting ready to like make my escape in the middle of the night, and he comes back upstairs and he's like, well, hey, I really want to have one really good last night with you. Let's, have sex. And I'm like, no, like, you're holding me here captive. I do not want to be here, and you will not let me leave. And you keep threatening to call the law on me if I do leave. So, no, I don't want to. Like, that is not a terms and conditions kind of thing for me. Like, absolutely not. I want to leave, and you won't let me. What makes you think I want to bear that part of me to you? And so he leaves and goes back downstairs. And I finish packing up and I'm just like, all right, I need to get some rest because I'm leaving first thing in the morning. Like as soon as my eyeballs crack open, I'm gone. And it wasn't until about 2:30 in the morning where I wake up, and I woke up to him pulling my shirt off. And I don't know how graphic I'm allowed to get on here, but he started sexually assaulting me in my sleep. And um so I woke up and I realized what was happening, and I pushed him off of me, and I climbed down over the side of the bed, and I just like sat on the edge of the bed. I didn't even look at him, and I was just like, am I allowed to leave now? And he said, no, you're not going anywhere. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go. And I started grabbing my laundry basket and all my bags that I had. And he's like, you're not leaving. I'll call the cops on you if you try to leave. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna call the cops on you. And this is where it got really mucky. Because I'd called the cops and they had dealt with me trying to leave him before, the week before, well, a couple weeks before when I left for the week. And so I called the cops. They showed up. I said, he just assaulted me. He sexually assaulted me, and he's been holding me captive since last night. And I really would just like to go. And they said, all right, well, we have some questions. And they started talking to us. And now he's the kind of narcissistic personality that will lose his ever loving mind when it comes to me. But when it comes to anybody else, he's cool as a cucumber. Just absolutely the most charming person you ever met. And he's really nice to the cops and everything. And they're helping me move my stuff down. And at one point, one of the police officers I was talking to, when you talk about audacity, this is something that I will never forget in my life. So I had told the cops what happened, and because I was not physically restrained or abused, I didn't have any bruises or anything like that. They were just like, well, are you sure? Are you sure that's what happened? And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I woke up to that's what was happening. Fortunately for me, through it all, nothing in that case is settled yet. But because I am resourceful and because I have that big bright light shining in me and I'm a survivor, I did not stay where I was for very long. Like, I decided I was going to go camping. I was like, I have tents, I can go camping. It's much cheaper than getting hotel rooms or even renting at this point. Um, I can't afford anything on my own right now. So I started camping, and in the meantime, this is where the story starts going way, 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 way up. So in the meantime, I was camping and I asked, hey, do you guys need like a camp host to volunteer or anything? And they were like, yeah, if you volunteer here, you can live here for free, but you can't live in your car and you can't live in a tent. You need to get a camper or something that you can live in. So it's something that I've entertained for a very long time where um I wanted to make a life and travel and kind of go around. So in this whole process, like I had some angels on my shoulders for sure. I had some incredible people come into my life, like just when I needed them. And I wound up from some old friends of mine just buying the camper that I'm sitting in right now. And I became a camp host, and now I live in the forest and I work on the beach. And I've had so many cool people around me, like a family, and they've all helped me so much with dealing with getting away from this. I mean, it's still kind of sad the fact that, you know, when I left that situation, I was a victim when I left, but I was even more victimized by the circumstances that followed. Like everything that I had to deal with. I mean, I was on the phone calling every single number just to be met with either answering machines or call this number or a menu option, and I could not find help. I just could not find help. I felt so hopeless for like a good month. Um to like finally getting my own place and adopting the dog and and I don't know, it's just it's been a lot. It's been a lot, but also I don't know, it was such a blessing in disguise. Like I right now I'm very single and I want to keep it that way because I never want to go through that ever again. I don't want to ever jump into anything. I know that I'm not fully healed from it. And I'm in no place to jump into something. That's kind of how that got started was I was not in a good place and I jumped into something that I knew was not going to be okay for me. I went against every single one of my gut instincts, every single one of them little senses that I have up here. I went against all of that and said, okay, well, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to take my happiness when I can get it and just go with it. But after that ended and I went through all that, and he even actually asked me, um, had we gotten married when I asked you, would you have left? And I said, absolutely. I would have gotten that annulled immediately. And it was funny because that was like a little test. He was like, oh, well, if I had put a ring on it, you wouldn't have left me. And I'm like, of course I would. I would, of course, left you. Like, I didn't want to. The love that I felt there was so strong, and the physical was so strong, and everything about it was intoxicating. Um, but at the end of the day, like I knew I wasn't safe. I just knew I wasn't. So I had to go. I had to go whether I like he said, well, you can't live in your car. That's not safe. And I said, it's safer than being here with you. Um, and that's the way I felt about it. That was my honest truth. That was my honest answer when he asked me. There's absolutely no way that I'm less safe sleeping in my car than being here with you. And so I had to put an end to it. And unfortunately it came at a price for both of us. Like he had so many mental issues that he disguised as being loving and helpful, and I had enough not mental issues, but like I had enough things going on in my life that he knew that he could prey on, and that's just kind of it's a very deadly combination. Like I think it's like 1 in 3 women who are abused by their partners wind up getting murdered by their partners. So it's kind of one of those things like I'm gonna save myself. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if it comes at a price. I'm sorry if your comfortable little bubble is popped. Um, somebody needed to pop it because if not, you were just gonna keep going.
And he still might.
He still might. You know
Still
what?
might.
I
Because
got
there,
an accidental butt dial and I could hear some chick in his car and I'm just like, man, you're at it again. You're
yep.
just like, I didn't, I didn't fall into that. Oh my gosh, I'm jealous because I can hear another woman on the phone. I sat there for like 10 minutes and I let the butt dial just play out, and I could hear what was going on, and I'm just like, gosh, I really hope them test results come back soon so that way maybe somebody can stop him from doing what he's doing to people. Like, for me it was one thing, but like one thing that I said to him about the girl that he had in his life for them past 4 years was she was 27 years younger than him, and she had nobody, and he preyed on her. And I said, man, I can't imagine how she spent 4 years in this situation, because he kept trying to paint her as the bad one. Oh
That's,
man, she's out of control. I have videos of her losing her mind. And I was just sitting here, and all of a sudden, and I'm like, it was not all of a sudden.
yep.
I don't believe any of that. I don't believe any of that. It's all of a sudden. No, you provoked her. You started a video at the perfect time when she finally lost her mind because you pushed her. Like, don't sit there and act all innocent. I know you. I know that you're not innocent. I know
That's,
she had a reason for it.
yeah, that's definitely the MO. That's definitely the pattern that they do. They do that. They provoke, they provoke, they provoke, and then they want to flip it on you and make it seem like you're the one that's been doing it the whole time. So you're out. You're living life, you're one with nature, you're growing, you're going up, up, and up. What advice? I mean, you've given plenty of advice. If there's any other advice besides the listening to your gut, listening to your intuition, being out as soon as you see that sign of something that's uncomfortable. If it's uncomfortable, there's no reason to stay and try to see if it can be comfortable. If it's uncomfortable, just go. You know what I'm saying? Like if you stick your hand in a bucket of nails, you're not going to keep sticking it in there and be like, well, maybe it'll feel better later. Let me just go a little deeper. Why do we do this? No, it's not going
So
to feel better later.
the best analogy that I have for it is have you ever heard of the boiled frog?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so if the water is boiling and you throw a frog into that boiling water, it will jump right out. But if you put that frog in the water and you slowly turn up the heat and slowly, slowly, slowly until it's boiling, that frog will never jump out. Like it'll just boil. Um, so I don't know. My advice, sincerely, my advice is as soon as you feel the heat, as soon as you feel them red flags, as soon as something does not sit right in your gut, like I know it's not always an option to leave, but make a plan B. Start working on that. Start socking money away if you can. Start contacting your family and saying, hey, something doesn't feel right here. We can play it cool when we talk on the phone with that person listening over my shoulder, but I truly don't feel this is okay for me. Like, reach out, reach out, reach out. Like, that is my biggest thing is reach out, because once they get you isolated, once they get you alone, then you're in it. You're in that boiling water. The water's already boiling and you didn't even notice the heat cranking up. Um, but if you can literally be true to yourself and say this does not feel right, and listen to them guts and just say, hey, I just want a plan B. I just want an escape route. Have some friends. Like I've listened to so many people. I've had so many contacts with so many people who their friends had to sneak in the middle of the night and pack a bag and sneak them out and get them on a plane or throw them in the back of the car or take the kids and run. You know, like as soon as your guts start telling you this is not right, start socializing, start making other people aware of what is going on with you, because if nobody knows, then nobody knows. And the longer you keep their secrets, the more dangerous the situation gets. It really truly, like, it truly is, it comes down to that. Like, do not let their behavior become something you hide under your pillow. Like, display it for the world, show the world who they are, because if the people around you know who they are, they will not let you fall.
That was
But
good.
if they
That
don't
was,
know, they don't know.
the longer you keep their secrets, the more dangerous for you it's going to get. Woo! That was a good one. That right there, because that's what we do. Like we hide everything bad about them. Oh my goodness.
Well, it's a shame thing.
It's
Like,
very shameful.
when you get into a situation that you're not proud of, you don't want to display that to the world. You don't want people to think that, oh man, well, she's so stupid. She went and did this. No, like if you're like, hey, I don't feel okay, I don't feel comfortable, because he befriended my family. He would call them if I was not doing what he wanted me to do. He would call them and be like, I'm worried about her. And he would try to get on their side and pit them against me. Like, oh, she's not okay. And it's like, you're the reason I'm not okay. But I got ahead of the game this time. I said to my family, like, I know this is stupid. I know this is not the right decision. And if things start going sideways, just just know that I let you know in advance. But keeping the secrets, because that's what I did in the first place, was I was ashamed. I was like, man, I'm kind of stupid for being in this situation. I don't want my family to judge me. I don't want my friends to judge me. And I'd stick up for him just to try to justify myself, to be like, well, I'm not making stupid decisions. Like, it's him. But at the same time, like, like I'm not trying to blame it on him. Like, I legit knew for a fact when I was going into this that I was the one making the bad decision. And that's a shameful thing. And you're kind of embarrassed to tell people, like, hey, I messed up. I made the wrong decision. I picked the wrong person. And it's a shameful thing because, like, I even had friends when I came out and said this was horrible and I was assaulted and everything is going wrong. I've had friends of mine that I've had for years say, you should have picked better. You should have did better. You shouldn't have done that. And it's like, I'm sorry, but you're no longer my friend. Like, you are no longer somebody who is my ally. And it's embarrassing. Like, one of the biggest things I think that comes with abuse is you're more mad at yourself for letting it happen, for letting it get that far, for falling for it, for, you know, how do you say it? Like you're embarrassed. It's embarrassing. Like, you feel like you messed up. But no matter how much you mess up, like, there's people that love you and there's people that will absolutely be like, hey, you messed up, it's cool, we got your back. But if you're like, no, I didn't mess up, it's just that situation, like, then they'll be like, well, we don't know how to help you, you know? So asking for help is a big situation, a big thing. It's a really big thing. Saying, hey, I made the wrong choice, or I did something against my better judgment. I should have listened to my gut, but I'm in this right now, and can you please help me out of it? Like, if you genuinely ask people to help, they will. They'll come through for you, for sure. I do want to try to give a little bit more hope than just the nitty-gritty details, just from somebody who, because we are survivors. Like, we survived, we lived. Like, we did not become that one in three. We didn't become them one in three women who are killed as a result of not standing up for themselves. But um just for podcast reasons, there's a couple of things that I like to throw out there. So one of the things that I learned is fear. When you talk about the fear of everything, so fear is a mile high and it is a mile wide, but it is paper thin. You just poke your finger through it and you can get to the other side.
I love
Also,
that.
yeah,
Ooh, it's
I mean,
juicy.
so big. Your fear is so big. It's a mile high, a mile wide. But like, all you gotta do is boop, pop through it and just make your way. Like, walk right through it. It is paper thin. We just survive because we have to. We do. We just survive because we have to. Like, every single thing that we go through, like I said, every lesson comes with a blessing. Like, you can go through the hardest time of your life and then the next week turn around and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so blessed. Like, I'm so absolutely blessed. Like, things are just absolutely amazing. Um yeah, it's I don't know, it warms my heart. I've heard so many women's stories through this whole situation, and a lot of us have the same exact things to say. You know, we all feel that shame, that guilt, that pressure, but literally we are so much stronger than we know. We we are so much stronger than we know. Like I always try to tell my friends, you made it through yesterday, you can make it through today. Like you absolutely can make it through today. Today is a brand new day, it's a brand new start, and them blessings and them angels on your shoulders can absolutely carry you wherever you need to go. Your path is in front of you. Sometimes we take the long way around. Sometimes it's straightforward, but we all get to where exactly we need to be whenever we need to be there. Like you're not here by accident. You're absolutely here for a reason. No matter what you've gone through, your experiences can always help somebody else. Everything you've gone through will be a stepping stone for somebody else to get from where they are to where they need to be. You know, we just got to keep that hope and that faith and that light, and don't let them moths don't let them moths anywhere near that light. Don't let them snuff it out.
That right there is going to help somebody, because
I hope
and the guilt is really heavy. Like you said, it's more about us being upset about ourselves for getting in it, staying in it, choosing it over and over again. So thank you for your wisdom, for your love, for your light. This has been a really good one. Really good conversation. So excited.
sorry. I know I just looked at the time and it ran a little over. I'm so
No,
sorry.
no, it's fine. It is fine. There is no real time. It's just however it goes. So DeAnna, thank you, sis, for showing up, for being transparent, for being open, for being willing to share your story, your experiences, your triumph, your journey up from where you are, just to serve as a reminder that no one out there is alone. Those feelings, the abuse is not normal. You know, what you feel is true, it's valid, even though they're trying to manipulate you to think that you're not valid for your feelings, or their wrong feelings, or whatever kind of tactics that they play in the mind. And to know that there's always a way out. Big important thing is to just be honest. A moment of honesty through the embarrassment will save you a lifetime or your life. So
Yeah.
being willing to be vulnerable, to be transparent about whatever's happening, regardless of how embarrassing it is in the moment, is what we have to do if we want to, you know, if we want to live beyond what we've experienced. So thank you, sis, for your love, for your light. Thank you for taking your time to be here with us today. And y'all know how I always say, keep showing up, keep sharing your love, keep shining your light. DeAnna, thank you for all that you do, girl. In the meantime, in between time, we gon' confetti, 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 confetti.